It was the 9th year of my entanglement with Laura. Her lover crashed my birthday party, told me they were in love, and demanded that I agree to a divorce to let them be together. Laura watched from the sidelines, cold and detached, waiting for me to deal with her unruly new flame like I always did. But on that day, I suddenly felt tired of it all. I stood up and gave her a small smile. "I'm going to the garden for some air." Laura didn't think anything of it, assuming I was just going off to cool down by myself. But an hour passed, then 2, then 3, and I still hadn't returned. She went to find me herself. In the garden, there was nothing but a single, burnt-out cigarette and a ring. She knew I wasn't coming back. In the 5th year of our marriage, Laura took a lover, a cool, captivating violinist. His name was Julian. Someone told me that the first time Laura saw Julian, she was mesmerized by his slender, elegant figure, which moved like a moonlit sonata. She kept the young man hidden away like a prized possession, a secret treasure she showed to no one, including me. But now, at this very moment, Julian had shown up on his own. He looked at me with red-rimmed eyes full of condemnation. "Laura doesn't love you anymore. I'm the one she loves now. Don't you feel cruel and unreasonable, trapping her in this marriage? Laura and I are truly in love. Just agree to the divorce and let us be together." He looked so pitiful, like some tragic hero whose happiness was being blocked by a villain. Me, I just found it laughable. "True love? You're sleeping with a married woman. Don't you think that's pathetic?" Hearing this, Julian's face went pale, but a moment later, he looked even more wronged. "Yes, you're right. It's pathetic of me to love a married woman. You have every right to curse me out. But while I may be wrong, love itself isn't. I just want to be with the person I love forever. I really, truly love Laura, and I don't want to be apart from her. Can't you just let us go?" His words were absurd and childish, but Laura seemed to find him adorable and fearless. She cooed at him softly, "All right, honey, stop making a scene. I'll go stay with you tonight." The moment she said it, the room went silent. She was walking all over me to stand up for Julian. This was a level of affection her other lovers had never received. In the past, when others had shown up demanding I leave her, Laura had dealt with them harshly. She had warned everyone, "Jason is my husband. No one provokes him." But today, Julian had ruined my birthday, and not only did Laura let it happen, but after having her secretary personally escort him home, she walked up to me and said in a low voice, "Don't worry, I won't let him act up like this again. In other words, don't you dare lay a hand on him." She was warning me. I didn't nod right away. Laura frowned, her gaze as cold as ice. "Jason, Julian is young and doesn't know any better." She was even making excuses for him. "I get it. Don't worry," I interrupted, nodding my agreement. Laura's expression softened slightly. She reached for my hand, but I instinctively pulled away. Her face darkened with displeasure, but I just smiled at her. "I'm going to the garden for some air." Laura nodded. "Come back soon. We're waiting for you to cut the cake." "Okay." I turned and walked away, feeling Laura's eyes fixed on my back the entire time. But I didn't look back. Not once. Outside the banquet hall, a light rain was falling. I lit a cigarette. Through the swirling smoke, for some reason, I suddenly remembered the day Laura proposed to me. It seemed to be raining then, too. We met when we were 3, fell in love at 16, and at 23, after her business took off and she'd made her first real money, she proposed. "Jason, will you marry me?" That day, she knelt before me on one knee, her hand trembling so much she could barely hold the ring. I looked down at her and asked only one question. "Will you love me forever?" She swore without a moment's hesitation. Always. I believe she meant it at the time, but sincerity is a fragile thing. At 27, Laura started seeing a handsome young man on the side. When I found out, she knelt before me, choking back sobs, begging me not to divorce her and swearing she would change. But once it happens the first time, there will always be a second, a third, and a fourth. By now, she no longer bothers to hide it, and I no longer bother to fight. I've had enough drama. I've seen it all. Just like with Julian. Laura treats him differently, warns me and threatens me for his sake. If this had been 3 years ago, I would have been heartbroken. But now all I feel is exhaustion and disgust, because I know better than anyone that Laura would never divorce me for Julian. It has nothing to do with feelings after so many years of marriage. Our financial and business interests are too deeply intertwined. A divorce would be a messy, profitless hassle for her. She won't do it, and she's certain that I won't do it either. After all, I've brought up divorce more than once over the years, but it always came to nothing. First, it was because of love. Later, it was because I couldn't let go of what we had. But whatever the reason, I had put up with it for so long. I should have been used to this kind of drama. But this time, I was just sick of it. I didn't want to play along anymore. The ash from my cigarette fell, burning my fingertips and making them tremble. Just then, a waiter approached me and whispered, "Sir, Ms. Wilson says it's time for you to come back and cut the cake." Go back? I snapped back to reality. A moment later, I stubbed out my cigarette, turned, and smiled faintly. "Tell Laura I'm not coming back." The waiter relayed the message verbatim to Laura. Laura's expression darkened. Seeing this, the other guests quickly tried to smooth things over. "Mr. Mills is probably just in a bad mood. That's why he said he's not coming back. You know how men are, sometimes they need their space. You should cut him some slack, Ms. Wilson. Men need to be coddled too. Why don't you go talk to him, Ms. Wilson?" Hearing this, Laura's heart stirred. She and Jason had known each other since they were children. No one understood how much he loved her better than she did. Today, she had asked him to go easy on Julian, and to get Julian to leave, she had promised to spend the night with him. She shouldn't have said that. It was Jason's birthday. She should have stayed and been with him tonight. She had misspoken. With that thought, Laura looked at the waiter. Is he upset? Jason had always been sensitive and prone to sadness. He would bottle up his feelings when he was hurt and only smile when he was happy. He'd even get teary-eyed watching a sad movie and be too upset to sleep. He was sensitive and reserved. He must have been hurt by what she said, which is why he made an excuse to go outside and be sad alone. A pang of guilt hit Laura. Jason was her husband, and today was his birthday. She shouldn't have embarrassed him for Julian's sake. She should apologize. But just as she was thinking this, the waiter shook his head. No, Mr. Mills was smiling. He looked very happy and very handsome. Laura frowned slightly, surprised by the answer. But a moment later, her face hardened, her tone turning to ice. Then what's he pouting about? He's a grown man acting like a child. If he doesn't want to come back, then fine, let him be. The guests exchanged nervous glances, not daring to say another word. They could only wait in silence. But an hour passed, then 2, then 3. There was still no sign of Jason in the banquet hall. Laura's expression was cold and grim as she stood up and walked to the garden. As the man of the Wilson family, a model husband in high society, storming off because of a lover was neither dignified nor gracious. It just made them a laughingstock for the guests. When she saw Jason, she was going to give him a piece of her mind. But when she arrived, the garden was completely empty. Amidst the patter of the rain, next to the trash can, there was only a single burnt-out cigarette and a ring. Laura's heart trembled. It was the silver ring she had proposed with. Over the years, she had bought Jason countless expensive watches and pieces of jewelry, but he had always cherished this simple silver ring, treating it like a precious treasure. But now he had tossed it carelessly into the trash. He didn't want it anymore. Just then, a gust of wind blew the rain sideways, soaking Laura's silk shirt. She felt a chill run through her body, but her mind was terrifyingly clear. Jason wasn't coming back. The first thing I did when I got back to the house was call my lawyer. He was professional and efficient, walking me through the asset division. After all, this wasn't the first time he'd handled a divorce for me, even if the previous attempts had all fizzled out. But this time was different. I was serious. I was focused. I don't know how much time passed before my phone rang. It was Laura. She was probably angry that I'd left early without telling her, making her lose face. When I answered, her voice was cold. "Jason, what the hell are you trying to do?" I signaled for the lawyer to pause. Then, in a calm voice, I told her, I want to divorce you. On the other end of the line, there was a moment of silence. When she spoke again, her voice was much softer. Is it because of Julian? I didn't answer. She thought she'd guessed the reason and seemed to let out a sigh of relief, her tone becoming placating. Jason, he ruined your birthday and that was his fault. You have every right to be upset. I'll have him come over and apologize to you right now. Even now. She thought I was just throwing a tantrum over Julian, but she still wasn't willing to cut him off. It was almost funny. I laughed softly, then interrupted her in a very, very calm voice. Laura, this has nothing to do with anyone else. Then why? I'm divorcing you simply because I don't love you anymore. Laura, you have a long road ahead of you. I just won't be walking it with you. I finally said it, and it felt like a heavy weight had been lifted off my back. There was a hint of melancholy, but mostly, it was relief. Freedom. Laura was silent for a moment. All I could hear was the soft tapping of her fingers on a table, a sign she was thinking. A moment later, she spoke again, her voice heavy. What is it this time? What are you so upset about? She still thought I was just being difficult. It was a familiar question. After I caught her cheating time and time again, after countless arguments and endless pain, she would always look at me with that tired, cold expression, her eyes filled with deep confusion, and ask, all these years, my money, the company shares, it's all in your name. Those men are just flings, just for fun. No one can threaten your position. You will always be my husband, Mr. Mills. Anything you want to buy, you can have in an instant. Look at the men around you, so many of them struggle just to make a living. Their entire year's salary isn't even worth the starting price of one of your watches. Jason, what on earth are you still so upset about? What more could you possibly want? Yeah, what more could I want? A life of luxury, fine clothes, and gourmet food. Countless people envied me. Even my own father, after giving Laura a fierce tongue lashing, gently advised me to just let it go, to pretend I didn't know and just live with it. What was love compared to cold, hard cash? I understood the logic, but I just couldn't accept it. I couldn't accept that the story of childhood sweethearts who weathered storms together would end with us as strangers in the same bed, living a lie. I couldn't accept that a love that was once mutual would curdle into mutual disgust. So I fought, I made scenes, I brought up divorce again and again, hoping to shock her into regretting her actions, to win back her love. But the only result was that my lover became my enemy. They say that when you love someone, you want them to live, and when you hate them, you want them to die. I never used to believe that saying, but during those darkest days, I did. Laura, you might not believe this, but I once truly wanted to kill you and then kill myself. I expected her to be horrified, but instead, she asked, then why didn't you? I was taken aback for a second. Then I chuckled softly, my voice light, because that day you called me JJ. JJ, like a precious treasure. My mother died young, and my father, who raised me alone, gave me that nickname. When Laura found out about it, she started calling me that too. She called me that for many, many years. When we were young, she would hold my hand as we raced down country paths to school, looking back at me with a smile. JJ, if we don't hurry, we're going to be late. On our wedding night, she kissed my forehead, her fingertips trembling. JJ, I love you. The day my father died, she held me tightly in her arms, whispering over and over in my ear, JJ, you're not an orphan. From now on, I'll take care of you. Don't be afraid. Back then, she loved me more than anything. But at some point, she stopped calling me that. It became Jason or just Mills. I thought I had forgotten the name JJ entirely. But that night, after I had gotten her drunk, my hands wrapped tightly around her neck, slowly squeezing, she opened her eyes in a drunken haze. Seeing my bloodshot eyes, her first reaction wasn't to struggle against her bound hands, but to frown and ask me, JJ, why are your eyes so red? Did someone hurt you? I froze. She was drunk. She didn't remember that she had betrayed me, that she had hurt me. She only remembered that she loved me more than anyone, and that she couldn't bear to see me sad. So, After I told her that she was the one who had hurt me, Laura panicked instantly. She looked up at me, her voice pitiful. Then,
I'm sorry, JJ.
I was wrong. You can hit me. How about tomorrow I take you to get some of Old Man Miller's roasted sweet potatoes? I had a sweet tooth as a kid and loved the roasted sweet potatoes from Old Man Miller's stand at the edge of town. But I could never bring myself to buy them. Laura would always save up her money to buy them for me. She wouldn't even take a bite herself unless I forced her to. We were at our poorest then, but also most in love. Whenever she made me angry, she would stare at me pitifully, like a little puppy afraid of losing its owner, just like she was that night. So, pathetically, my heart softened. I let go of her neck and untied the ropes. As her calls grew more and more frantic, I walked out of the room and onto the rooftop. Looking down, I thought, if I can't kill Laura, then I might as well just kill myself. But as soon as the thought appeared, it was shattered by a loud whistle that tore through the sky. I looked up. One after another, fireworks bloomed before my eyes. Red, blue, pink. Brilliant, beautiful, they lit up half the sky. It was breathtakingly beautiful. Right now, as I looked out the picture window, I couldn't see the fireworks from that night in the dark sky. My voice was very light and gentle. In that moment, I suddenly didn't want to die. I was even glad I hadn't killed you. Otherwise, I would never get to see such beautiful fireworks again. On the other end of the line, Laura was silent for a long time. I thought I had scared her with the story of my past madness. But after a moment, she suddenly asked, "Do you still want to kill me now?" Her tone was very serious. So, I thought about it for a moment and answered her just as seriously. No, it's not worth it. Laura didn't agree to the divorce. It had nothing to do with feelings. After so many years of marriage, our financial interests were too deeply and tightly entangled. A divorce would be a massive, damaging upheaval for her. The division of assets would also affect her company's upcoming IPO. In short, other than being single again, there was no benefit for her. Laura is an excellent businesswoman. She doesn't do things that aren't in her best interest. So she chose to ignore it. Just as she had ignored my pain and struggles in the past, this time she ignored my request, as well as the divorce papers and asset division agreement my lawyer sent her. I had no intention of fighting with her anymore. I just had my lawyer inform her that if she wouldn't agree to a divorce, I would sue her. Then I packed my bags and left New York City. Just before the plane took off, I received a text from Laura. "Jason, you know this is the most critical time for the company's IPO. Do you really have to do this now? After all these years together, does it really have to come to this?" I thought for a moment, then replied, "Yes, it does." The plane's destination was Iceland, where the Atlantic and Arctic Oceans meet. I stayed in a small seaside town where I could see the ocean just by opening my window. Walking further south, surrounded by green grass, I saw the little red house used for eye tests. I realized it was a real place. When the wind blew, the blades of grass swayed. It was so beautiful. I joined a tour group. The guide was a woman who expertly and confidently led us to taste local foods and introduced us to historical sites. There was a young couple in the tour group. They were inseparable, clearly deeply in love. I once saw the boy in a quiet corner, practicing his proposal over and over again. It took him 3 days to go from clumsy to smooth. Then, at the Pantheon in Rome, amidst a shower of rose petals, the boy proposed to the girl beside him. "Jenna, will you marry me?" Even though he had practiced so many times, his words were even more halting than the first time. Clumsy, trembling, but sincere. "I will." The girl accepted the ring with tears in her eyes. Amidst cheers and applause, she threw herself into the boy's arms. They held each other tightly. Under the rain of petals, it was as if they were holding the whole world. On the way back, the boy went to pack their things, and the girl sat down next to me. She was treasuring her new diamond ring, gently stroking it, when she suddenly noticed the faint indentation on my ring finger. She blinked at me. "Hey, are you married?" "I am." The girl was a natural conversationalist. Hearing that I had experience, she became curious. "How old were you when you got married?" "I just started my first job this year." Do you think I said yes to his proposal too soon? She was young. Her eyes were full of hope for the future, adoration for the one she loved, and apprehension about marriage. She was afraid of choosing the wrong person, of taking the wrong path. Not like me. Young and naive, I had thrown myself headfirst into a life with Laura. I thought love could conquer all. But I later learned that all my hardships were because of love. Marriage brought me nothing but endless pain and countless tears. My marriage was undoubtedly a failure. So, I had no right to offer her any feel-good advice or wisdom about love. I just told her, I got married at 23. I'm 32 now, and I'm preparing for a divorce. For me, marriage isn't about age. If you like someone, be with them. If you don't, then separate. It's better to keep it pure and simple. The girl listened, nodding with a bit of confusion, then asked carefully, Are you getting divorced because you don't love her anymore? I smiled and nodded. Yeah. We're sick of the sight of each other. On the 7th day of Jason's absence, Julian had just finished a performance. Laura went to pick him up herself. On the way home, Julian was scrolling through TikTok. I got married at 23. I'm 32 now, and I'm planning to get divorced. Are you getting a divorce because you don't love her anymore? Yeah. We're sick of the sight of each other. Laura's whole body trembled as she turned to look. She couldn't see the man's face, but she knew that voice. It was Jason. He said he didn't love her anymore. He said he was sick of the sight of her. That was too ridiculous, too absurd. Jason's mother was long gone, and his father had passed away a few years ago. Besides her, he had no one else in the world to rely on. He couldn't leave her. Even though he had brought up divorce more than once over the years, Laura knew that the one who couldn't bear to go through with it was him. He couldn't bear to leave her, and more than anyone, he cared about having a home of his own. The divorce talk, the arguments, it was all just a ploy by Jason to get her attention. How could he possibly not love her anymore? That's what Laura told herself. But a deep sense of unease and gloom spread through her heart. She desperately needed Jason's reassurance. So she pulled the car over to the side of the road, ignoring Julian's confused look, and took out her phone, intending to send Jason a text. But when she opened their chat, she saw that her last message asking when he was coming home had no reply. Scrolling up, she saw his message telling her to handle everything through his lawyer and not to bother him. She thought for a moment. She decided to ask where he had gone. But what she got back was a red exclamation mark. Jason had blocked her. Laura's fingertips trembled. A sudden emptiness filled her heart. And just then, she heard the girl in the video ask Jason, so what if she changes her mind and comes back to you now? Would you forgive her? No. Jason's voice was calm but resolute. Laura's hand tightened around her phone. Her jaw clenched. Lies. Jason was lying. How could he not forgive her? He loved her so much. She refused to believe it. I returned to the country, and Laura herself was there to pick me up at the airport. She was beautiful, with a slender, graceful figure. She walked towards me holding a large bouquet of roses, attracting a lot of attention. Jason, welcome back. I didn't take the flowers. Her brow furrowed slightly, then she smoothly took my suitcase. JJ, can we please stop this? She called me JJ. In the past, my heart would have softened, but now I just felt confused. I had no idea what she was trying to do. When she opened the car door, I saw that Julian was in the car too. I frowned slightly. Laura quickly explained, Jason, I know you're still angry at Julian for ruining your birthday. I brought him here to apologize to you. Julian lowered his eyes, his expression pitiful. I'm sorry. It was all my fault. Please don't be angry with Laura, okay? I watched this farce in silence. I didn't say a word. Laura tried to take my hand, but I pulled away. She sighed, seemingly helpless, and offered a compromise. If you don't like him, I'll break up with him. How about that? At these words, Julian's face went white. He stared at Laura in disbelief. But I refused. No need. Young people have their advantages. Laura was stunned. What? Just as she spoke, a young woman tapped on the car window. Seeing me, she slid right into the seat next to me, took my hand, and intertwined her fingers with mine. There you are. How could you just leave me behind? Before I could speak, Laura's expression changed, her gaze turning dark as she stared at the girl's hand on mine. And who might this be? The girl looked back at her, then at me. This is the future ex-wife? I nodded. The girl beamed, her youthful energy so bright it was almost blinding. Hello, future ex-wife.
I'm Chloe.
I'm his little sugar baby. Her gaze was terrifyingly bold. Julian frowned in disgust. How can you be so shameless? At this, Chloe rolled her eyes, annoyed. What's the problem? Aren't you the future ex-wife's sugar baby? 2. What's with the discrimination? Besides, if anyone should be judging, it's me judging you. You're sleeping with a married woman. You're pathetic, you're disgusting, and you have no shame. Her words utterly demolished Julian. He could only stand there, pale-faced and red-eyed, trembling with anger, looking pitifully at Laura, hoping she would defend him as usual. But Laura didn't even glance at him. Let's go home first. I spoke up. Take me to my apartment. That was where I was staying now. Chloe had insisted on coming back with me and had nowhere to go, so she was staying at my place. But Laura gripped the steering wheel tightly. Let's go to our house. I want to talk. It wasn't a suggestion. I frowned in annoyance, but seeing the look on Laura's face, I nodded. Fine. Back at the mansion, the layout was just as I had left it. It was a bit of a mess. After all, when I left, I had taken everything of value I could carry. Laura's first words were an interrogation. Who is she? I raised an eyebrow. My sugar baby. Didn't you used to say you couldn't accept an open marriage? And now you've found yourself a young woman. Have you been having fun with her all this time? Laura's brow tightened. She looked up at me, a careless smile on her lips, but her eyes were cold. I looked at her and laughed. It's been great. Young people have a lot of energy. My frankness shut down her passive-aggressive remarks. I was getting impatient. Laura, is this what you wanted to talk about? If so, I'm not staying. She's young and has nightmares when she sleeps alone. I'm going to keep her company. Those words shouldn't have been unfamiliar to Laura. Once upon a time, she had said the same thing to me. Laura clearly remembered that past incident too. Her face turned extremely ugly, but the next second, she looked at me, suddenly took 2 steps closer, and, looking up at me, smiled. Jason, let's both break it off with them and start over. Okay? You're the one I love. I pushed her away, looking down at her wearily. You don't love me. You're just upset because someone who wasn't supposed to leave suddenly did. And it hurt your pride. You've always had this obsessive need for perfection. When you were a kid, if a corner of your cookie broke off, you'd rather go hungry than eat it. Now, you'd rather find one lover after another on the side just to keep me around and preserve your perfect marriage. After all these years, I knew her better than anyone. I knew her coldness, her selfishness. She was tired of me, but she couldn't stand the thought of someone else having me. That wasn't love. It was her arrogance. Laura, you're genuinely sick. You should get help. Laura fled in disarray. But the next day, she was at my door again. She wanted to drive me to and from work. I didn't refuse. Until the divorce was final, we were still the picture of a respectable high society couple. Laura became increasingly attentive, reporting everything she did to me, text after text. I didn't read them, let alone reply. People at the company called me Mr. Mills when they saw me. They knew who I was. I had no interest in a 9-to-5 job. Now that I had money, I had no desire to work myself to the bone. I held a nominal position and only had to show up at the company occasionally. My close friend Mike worked at the company, which is how I knew about Julian in the first place. This time, when I came in, Mike saw Laura constantly popping into my office and asked if she had come to her senses. I snorted. I invited him to dinner after work. After Mike agreed, I texted Laura to tell her she didn't need to pick me up. I'll pick you up when you're done, then. Okay. I agreed. Mike and I left work together. We went to the underground parking garage. As Mike drove, he said to me, "So Laura broke it off with Julian." Huh? I told you she still cared about you. The moment you get angry, she'd drop him no matter how much she liked him. I just smiled. Maybe. Over the past few days, Julian had called Laura many times. I had seen it, but Laura hadn't answered a single call. Even when I said to her, "Answer it. It might be important." Laura gave me a complicated look, a mix of frustration and sadness. "You don't care." I looked at her and shook my head. "I don't. I had stopped caring a long time ago." But Laura, right in front of me, blocked Julian's number, as if she had truly had a change of heart. At dinner, Mike asked me, "So if she's changed, are you still going to divorce her?" I didn't answer. I looked out the window. The sky was dark, and there were few people on the street. A young man stood under a streetlight. I couldn't see his face, but his tall, slender figure was conspicuous. A woman came down from an apartment building and rushed into his arms. The young man lowered his head. The woman tilted hers up, and she gently kissed the corner of his lips. Car passed by them. The headlights flashed on. I saw their faces clearly. It was Laura and Julian. I watched quietly for a moment, then took a picture of everything. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Laura. "Are you done? I'll come pick you up." "No need. I'm not coming back tonight," she replied instantly. "Okay." I looked down. Laura was holding Julian's hand as they walked into the apartment building. Both of them were smiling. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by a notification. It was from Julian. He had sent me a photo. Laura was sleeping soundly on his chest, and his chest was covered in mottled kiss marks. Erotic, sticky. A far cry from the cool, detached artist I first met. "Your wife is amazing in bed. She lost interest in you a long time ago. Why are you still clinging on shamelessly and refusing to divorce? Can't you have some dignity?" I saved the photo, thought for a moment, and sent him a transfer for 50 cents. The memo read, "For your services." Julian went ballistic, sending me a flood of messages. I didn't read a single one. Instead, I forwarded the photo to my lawyer. "Evidence of adultery. Get me more of the assets." The lawyer replied instantly, "Don't worry, Mr. Mills." The next morning, when I came downstairs, Laura was already waiting for me at the door. "Good morning, Jason." She looked refreshed, a satisfied glow on her face from having her desires met. She had brought me breakfast, my old favorites, pan-fried dumplings and soy milk. I ate one or two absent-mindedly, giving non-committal answers to her questions. My dismissiveness was obvious. After Laura made her fortune, no one had ever been so openly dismissive of her. She looked displeased. "Jason, do you really have to treat me this way?" She stopped the car and looked at me, a hint of hurt in her eyes, as if I was the one who had wronged her. But when her eyes met my calm, indifferent gaze, she was at a loss for words. "Then sign the divorce papers. If you can't stand it, then don't." At these words, Laura's face went cold. "Don't even think about it." Her tone was firm. I sighed and leaned back in my seat. It was a sigh of both resignation and frustration. "Laura, why are you so pathetic? When I loved you, you hurt me. Now that I don't love you, you won't let me go. Truly pathetic. And really annoying." Laura continued to stall, refusing to sign the papers. So we maintained our marriage. But she clung to me tightly. I knew she was trying to keep me from seeing Chloe. But when Chloe couldn't find me, she would come and wait for me at the company entrance. She would cling to my arm, pouting, asking if I didn't care about her anymore. I would smile and placate her. Of course I care. After I managed to get her to leave in front of everyone, I turned around and saw Laura standing far away at the entrance, watching me. I didn't know how much she had seen, but she said nothing, just turned and left the company alone, as if she was sulking. But I didn't care. It was raining today. The weather was a bit chilly, and I went home alone. As soon as I got home, Laura took my hand and led me to the dining room. "Didn't you say you wanted the lamb soup from downtown? I got it for you." Her hand was ice cold. I looked at Laura and realized she was soaked through, her face pale from the cold. But her eyes were full of expectation and a desire to please. I took one sip and put down the spoon. "Tastes a little gamey. You can have it." I turned to leave, but Laura grabbed my wrist. "I went to get this specifically for you because you liked it. Took me 2 hours to find the stall." It was raining, and the stall didn't have an awning, so I had to wait in the rain. But you only take one sip and don't even ask if I'm okay. Jason, what is wrong with you? Her fingertips were trembling. Her eyes filled with deep confusion. You never used to be like this. So? I met her gaze, my expression open and calm. I stopped loving you a long time ago. To me, you're a stranger. Do you expect me to fuss over a stranger? You're moved by your own actions, and you expect me to be grateful for it. Isn't that ridiculous? My words seemed to shatter Laura. How could you not love me? I've already investigated. Chloe is just your friend. There's nothing going on between you two. You're just using her to get back at me. You still care about me deep down, don't you? Jason, JJ, you do love me, right? She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a fragile hope. But I noticed she was clenching her hands so tightly her knuckles were white, as if my answer was the last straw that would decide her fate. I smiled, then shattered her final hope. We're just friends for now. Life is long. I'll eventually find someone to spend the rest of my life with. I was afraid of being alone. After my father passed away, I wanted a home of my own more than anyone. So, I never planned to spend the rest of my life alone. I would need a companion. A man, a woman, a lover. Any would do. Laura's eyes were bloodshot. She asked me, "Can't it be me?" No. I didn't hesitate. Ignoring Laura's instantly pale face, I smiled, then turned and walked away. I didn't look back. Julian came to see me. Compared to the cool artist I first met, he now had a hint of worldliness and calculation in his eyes. It made him even more annoying. No wonder Laura couldn't bear to break up with him. Who would want to give up such a sycophant? But I took a light sip of my coffee, smiling calmly, not showing the slightest bit of anger. If she wants a divorce, I'm ready anytime. She's the one who's not willing. But you two are quite a match. One is pathetic and the other is even more so. Julian's face flushed with anger, his voice sharp. Jason, she loves me. You're just an old man. I raised my hand and threw the coffee in his face. I stood up, looking down at his pathetic, drenched appearance. I said coolly, "Since you're so sure of her love for you, then hurry up and convince her to sign the papers so she stops bothering me." Julian, I'll be waiting for your good news. Unfortunately, Julian was useless. They remained at a standstill. I glanced at the hidden camera and watched the show unfold with cold detachment. It went on until Julian, exhausted, passed out. Laura had him sent to the hospital. "I'm sorry, Jason. I will handle this," she promised me. I paused for a moment, then laughed. "No need. I don't care." The words hung in the air. The room was silent. Laura looked at me, her eyes dark and inky like a churning pool of ink, but the corners were a fragile red. "You don't care?" She looked as if my indifference had broken her heart.
He stared at her steadily.
It wasn't until she instinctively grabbed my wrist that I realized her fingertips were trembling violently. "How can you not care? You're supposed to be in pain. You care so much about family. How can you not be falling apart? Jason, JJ, please don't look at me like that." Her last words were a plea. In that moment, she seemed to have humbled herself completely, hoping for my pity. But I just found the whole situation dirty, and her even dirtier. Should I care? We're about to get a divorce. Whether you have a child or whose child it is has nothing to do with me anymore. Laura, I really truly don't love you anymore. Seeing her on the verge of collapsing, I smiled. We've known each other a long time. Let's give each other some dignity. Sign the papers. Laura finally signed. She had no choice. Julian had told the media that Laura had a secret love child, and the high society affair became a huge scandal. The stock market fluctuated, and the shareholders were unhappy. Laura didn't want to be sued by me on top of everything else. And with her affair now public knowledge, my lawyer managed to secure the maximum benefit for me. 70% of all assets. My lawyer told me it was actually 60%. The extra 10% was volunteered by Ms. Wilson herself. I smiled and accepted it without argument. The day I walked out of the marriage registration office, it was a rainy day. I seemed to have a strange connection with rainy days. All the major events in my life happened on rainy days. The day we got engaged, the day we got married, the day Laura cheated for the first time, the day I decided to get a divorce, and now the day of the divorce itself. Under the light drizzle, Laura stood beside me and said softly, "Let me give you a ride." I shook my head. No need. Someone's coming to pick me up. As soon as I said it, Chloe squeezed between us, holding an umbrella. "There you are. It's cold today, you should wear another jacket. You have a sensitive stomach, don't catch a cold." She chattered on, draping a coat over my shoulders. I accepted it gracefully. Then, I stepped under her umbrella. And just then, the rain suddenly stopped. I looked up. The sun broke through the clouds, dispelling the gloomy fog. Sunlight fell gently, warming me from the chill of the rain. I smiled. I turned back, waved at Laura, and said, "Goodbye. The storm has passed. Goodbye to the gloom." Epilogue. The day of the divorce, Laura stood rooted to the spot. She watched as Jason and another woman, sharing an umbrella, walked further and further away. She could vaguely hear the girls' cheerful chatter and Jason's resigned laugh, but his eyes were filled with a light, joyful ease. It was a carefree look she hadn't seen on him in a long time. Actually, she had known for a while that Chloe wasn't Jason's lover. Jason couldn't do it. He had tried once, found a girl, and they looked very close. But when Laura saw the girl's face, she stopped caring. Because the girl's eyes and brows looked so much like her own. He couldn't let her go. He could never truly take that step. Sure enough, that absurd charade ended in less than a month. Jason never crossed that line again. Once, when she was drunk, she told a friend about it. Her friend was stunned for a moment. Then she scoffed. "Maybe he doesn't love you. Maybe he's just not as shameless as you are. Laura, if you keep this up, you're really going to lose Jason. And when that day comes, don't you dare regret it." What had she said back then? Laura thought for a moment, then remembered. At the time, she had smiled with complete certainty. How could I regret it? Jason is the one who can't leave me. She thought she didn't love Jason anymore. After so many years, she was clearly tired of him. But right now, watching Jason's figure recede into the distance, her heart ached as if it were being torn apart, as if she had lost the most important thing in her life. She suddenly wanted to chase after him, but she stopped as soon as she took a step. She knew Jason would not turn back. He had said it himself. If you like someone, be with them. If you don't, then separate. "Laura, I really don't love you anymore. Let's separate." He hadn't lied. He just didn't love her anymore. Not anymore. The rest of his life would be like the sky after the rain, bright and dazzling. And she would be standing in the rain for the rest of her life. But no one cared. No one cared anymore.